Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig. This is Brian Green's program. It's not the Green Brian program. This is Pat Chun's favorite hire because it is his hire. If it was your hire, you'd probably like it more because it'd be your hire, but it's not your hire. It's Pat Chun's hire. It's the Brian Green program.
Yeah.
Kind of fumbled it, but do you know what that's from?
I don't, but that's okay.
Dude, come on, man. From the 90s.
I know, I should know. If it's from the 90s.
Famous Canadian who is not like... do you remember Tom Green?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that guy.
So it was a play on his theme song.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The Tom Green Show.
Yeah.
I mean, was not... So
that guy rose and fell.
Yeah.
And married, like, so fast.
So fast. And so like my thing with him, and so this is like, just like, you may not know this about me, even though we're friends, we don't watch a lot of like movies, programming, like we don't watch that kind of stuff together. Typically we talk about the Cougs, whatever. I have a hard time with things that are awkward. And that was so like in fact, I was just talking with my students about, we were doing a thing on comedy because they're reading A Midsummer Night's Dream. We're talking about all the different kinds of comedy. And, so I used Meet the Parents as an example of like comedy of manners, which is, of course, all these like social norms that get broken in the movie, right? It's like 90% of the humor in that movie. And so anyway, I was just telling him, like, I have this real problem with awkward, every Ben Stiller movie is like, except for maybe like Zoolander, is like just him being like totally awkward and embarrassed. And so Tom Green just kind of, if I remember right, he sort of made a living out of either being awkward himself or making other people feel very awkward and embarrassed. And
yeah,
and that may be why I wasn't a big Tom Green fan.
Yeah, I was a bit younger, so I think I watched MTV like almost all the time back then. So I would watch everything. But yeah, it was he had quite a rise. Like he was pretty famous for like a couple year, maybe like a year, and married Drew Barrymore.
And didn't he get sick? Like wasn't that like didn't he get
I think he had
cancer or something? And then he kind of disappeared.
He got cancer and yeah, I mean maybe he's got a thriving career in Canada still. I don't know.
Maybe he does. I don't know. It's possible. Yeah. Hey, welcome to Podcast versus Everyone.
Yeah, welcome to Podcast versus Everyone. This is Craig Powers, and apparently the number one Tom Green fan on the show. And the number two Tom Green fan on the show is Jeff Nusser. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. By default.
By default. You either got to be number one or number two.
That's true. I will always be number two. See what I did there? That's comedy, people. That is comedy at its finest.
Yep. So you probably don't like The Office, especially the early seasons, very much.
So it's not a didn't like thing. I just never I don't watch a lot of shows. Like that's kind of like I devote most of my spare time of TV watching to sporting events. So I just don't watch a lot of TV. And then like whatever other spare time I have is my children and grading papers and whatever. So it wasn't a like I didn't like it thing. It was just I never really made time for it thing. That one's not like, at least from the shows that I watched, it wasn't like painfully uncomfortable.
Okay. Like, watch a season 5 episode called Scott's Tots.
Okay.
And then check back with me.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe that'll be horribly uncomfortable.
So Amanda and I, even though that show, I like the awkward comedy, but Amanda and I, we have rewatched The Office like dozens and dozens of times. We did it. We were doing that before there was Netflix, and we had to do it on DVD. I remember when we were like living in Seattle, we had like the first 3 seasons and on DVD, and we would just watch them repeated. So we were like because I think The Office is like at number one on Netflix every single month.
Yeah,
Like in terms of watched like hours,
I
which
believe
is
that.
funny. But yeah, the season 5 episode called Scott's Tots, we always skip. We just can't handle it. It's too awkward.
Too much even for you?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, if you want to feel really uncomfortable, watch that one. But yeah, so what are you drinking?
You're gonna be proud of me, Craig. I'm drinking a barley wine.
Ooh,
I picked up a Sukaba from Firestone Walker.
very good.
This is the 2019 vintage. I probably could have left it sitting in my fridge for 2 or 3 years, but I didn't. Decided to have it. And
I think I have some 2015 Sukaba down in the basement.
Still sitting there.
Yeah, maybe 2014. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, so I don't know honestly, and maybe this is like confessional time. I don't know that I've actually ever had a barley wine unless I had one with you and I don't remember.
You probably did.
It's possible. It's possible. But anyway, so maybe this was I don't know if I've ever had one of my own volition. And so this is the first for me. So this is 2019 Sukaba, very bourbony.
Yeah, it's hot, I bet.
It
so
is.
Fresh.
It is actually. In my first sip, I was like, "Whoa, wow, that's almost like taking a shot of bourbon." Is about how it tastes. So yeah, I'm sure. So you can tell me like, so the longer it sits, does that sort of mellow out on the beer?
Yeah. That typically in your fridge, it'll probably hold on longer. If you have it in like a cellar at like a lower temp, a higher temp, it might even out fast. But yeah, if you leave it in a bottle, typically some of that heat will reside. But the hot beers will always be hotter. You know, like the spirit doesn't the spirit like impact doesn't fade away that fast. But yeah, that's pretty it's pretty standard from that beer, any vintage, like especially fresh. It's just really punchy, and that I think that got released just a few, like maybe a couple months ago. So
yeah, it wasn't that
yeah.
long ago. I've had it for a couple months is all.
Yeah. So it's definitely a fresh beer, and yeah, Firestone Walker is using freshly emptied, which is what you're supposed to do for the best results. They're using those freshly emptied barrels. You know, they're taking their barrel program seriously. And yeah, you're gonna get that heat from it. But what do you think of that?
It's good. I like it. It's a little.
How cold is it right now?
So I let it warm up just a little bit. I don't think it's quite. I actually got out my instant read thermometer to see what it was. So hold on, I can tell you because I was really curious because it said to drink it at 55. So I'm gonna drop this in here. This makes great radio right here. It is 53 degrees right now.
Yeah,
so it's getting pretty close to what they want you to drink it at.
Yeah, I think you'll actually like it even a little warmer than that.
A little warmer.
Yeah.
So it's like I can like the bourbon's really forward, little chocolate, little vanilla. It's good.
Yeah, barley ones are good.
Yeah.
So interesting. So we have been to Colin's Pub together before.
Yes, we have.
So the original, Sukaba is a real strange name.
Yes.
So actually, the first vintage of that beer came out in 2011, and they called it Abacus.
Okay.
But they're in the in Paso Robles in like wine country, and there was another winery called Abacus, and they sued them to change the name, and so they just reversed the name and called it Sukaba the next year. And actually,
that's funny.
Colin's Pub, I haven't been up there in a month, like a little while, but they keep, they'll post their tap list on Twitter like once or twice a week, and they've had the OG 2011 Abacus on tap for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it hasn't
Damn.
kicked. So if you're around there, man, if anyone's around there, Collins Pub, maybe you work downtown in Seattle, uh, check it out. Yeah, nice little afternoon barley wine. It's delicious. I had
Yeah.
the 2011 version probably 3 years ago, and it was very good. It actually won a barley wine competition at Brower's Cafe, the 3-year-old keg, over some very good ones. But yeah, it's very good beer. Good choice, man.
Thanks.
And it's
It
probably
is
easier
good.
now that since like all the older ones I have are in the big bottles, but you probably got one in the little bottle with
I
the little
did. I
box.
got a little 12 ounce bottle in a box.
So another Firestone Walker add on here is it was my best friends from college who you met in Pullman. They were for the spring game, but they were it was their youngest daughter's 6th birthday on Saturday, birthday party, and they had a little after party after we went to the bounce play. It was called some bounce place, inflatable bounce place in Tacoma, and we went back to their house and uh, had our typical party. Whenever it's their kids' birthdays, we usually have a nice big party and get drunk afterwards, as one should.
As
But
one does.
so I like to, a lot of those friends in that group, they like craft beer, but they're not like super super deep into it. But I always like to bring, some of my stuff, and so I brought a Floodland beer, which I've talked about Floodland before, and then I brought um, the 2015 vintage of Firestone Walker's Anniversary Ale, which was Firestone 19. So I just, random pull out the cellar. So that one was a blend of like 4 different beers, 2 different stouts, and a barrel aged quad, which tends to be very barley wine-ish, and then a barrel aged brown, which is also very barley wine-ish. So the end result of this was a very kind of barley wine-ish beer. The blending these 4 beers. They do that different blend every year for that one, and this 2015 was excellent. Like I was very impressed with it. So yeah, they've done some good stuff in their barrel program. They had a few off years. Like one year they brewed their barrel aged Russian Imperial Stout Parabola. It actually wasn't even brewed at Firestone Walker. They are owned by Duvel Mortgott, who also owns Boulevard Brewing in Kansas City. And actually, Parabola was brewed and barreled and bottled at Boulevard, but it had Firestone Walker branding. And I swear to God, the beer was worse that year. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's just you're projecting because but like it just tasted not right. And the subsequent vintages have tasted better. But yeah, Sukaba is probably my favorite of their barrel. It's probably most consistently good. And they actually took it away for in 2017, and they brewed this barrel aged brown called Bravo, which is similar to a barley wine, but just not. It wasn't nearly as good. So I'm glad they brought the Sukaba back. It's a fan favorite.
Yeah. It's good.
So
What you drinking?
well, no.
Oh wait, I gotta rate it.
Yeah.
What am I rating it at? What am I rating it out of?
Um, out of 5 frivolous lawsuits, how would you rate that beer?
um, we'll go with 4.5 frivolous lawsuits.
All right. Great. There's a lot of ridiculous lawsuits in beer. I mean, it's just
I'm
protecting.
sure there is.
It's protecting branding most of the time, but sometimes it's just in situations where it's like, there's another example here in the Northwest. Fremont, they used to make their winter ale was called Abominable, and Hub Ale Works in uh, Portland also had an Abominable, and they both made a bourbon barrel aged Abominable. And so when Fremont wanted to move in their distribution into Oregon, they actually had an amicable relationship, and they just agreed that they would change the name. So their Abominable, the winter ale was just named Winter Ale. So if you used to love Abominable and you never see it, it's called Winter Ale now. And then Bourbon Abominable is now called what kind of people are calling it offhand anyway, called B-Bomb. And so like if you have an older, I think pre 2015, 2015 or maybe it was 2016 was the first year. So if you have before, it says Bourbon Abominable, and if you have like 2016 and after, it says B-Bomb on the label. So it's just pretty. But they just that wasn't a lawsuit or anything. They just agreed to change it. They didn't want to like infringe on their Abominable because it does make it confusing. Because I've seen like bourbon barrel aged Abominable on tap at a bar, but it's actually the Hub version, which is not nearly as good as the Fremont version. Like, so it's actually Hub is benefiting from that branding confusion because their beer is not as good.
Right.
But yeah, I'm totally on a off topic here.
Well, it's always nice when people can get along. And
yeah. Especially
unlike a story we didn't get to last week, which was No Lie going up against Goose Island, who created their own born and raised beer after No Lie built their entire, pretty much their entire beer around the standard born and raised IPA.
And it's like, and Goose Island has the might of Anheuser-Busch InBev behind them, and the law, like the lawyering.
Right. So No Lie has no chance to sue anything.
Yeah.
If AB is like, no, we don't want to change it, then No Lie is pretty stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting, but I guess I'll get to what I'm drinking.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
So I'm repping the 253, repping my adopted city and my daughter's hometown tonight, with probably one of my favorite breweries and one of the best wild ale producing breweries, like on the West Coast, if not the entire country. And that's Engine House 9, which the brewery goes by E9 Brewing now. So they've kind of split the brewing branding off of the bar.
Interesting.
And they have a new tap room and new brewery called E9 Brewing. And it's in the designated brewery district in Tacoma, on Fawcett Avenue. I would highly recommend it. Great spot, great new spot. Do it yourself charcuterie, usually good food trucks, and then great E9 beer. Yeah, they just serve E9 beer there and some ciders and stuff. But it's that place is 21 plus, so I don't get to go there as much. But it's a great spot. But yeah, the beer that I'm drinking is one of the first they released from that new facility. I assume it was brewed at the old facility, which was the old one was like a 7-barrel system, and it was just in the side of that restaurant. If you've ever, and I know you've been there, and in the old firehouse. But their new system is over twice as big. It's a 15-barrel system, and they'll be able to crank out a lot more. And they have so much more space for oak barrels, which is what their bread and butter. That's what they love to do, make kind of oak aged wild ales and saisons. And it's just a beautiful space now with all those barrels and everything. So highly recommend checking it out if you're in the area. But they really lean into the Tacoma branding too. They made their own like Tacoma logo, and you can get this like black with gold writing, like the front of the shirt just says Tacoma and it says E9 on the back. So nice. I definitely want one of those, but they sold pretty quickly, and they've told me they're going to get some more in. But I'm looking forward to one of those. So the beer I'm drinking is one of the first that was released. Now they're doing their beer releases at the brewery, which is a lot easier than doing it at a restaurant. It just confuses the people that are in there for breakfast, and there's like beer nerds coming in being like, I wanted this beer, but no. So now this one's called Les Chalmers. I can't pronounce French, but it is multiple year barrel aged blended wild ale with apricot and peaches from the Yakima Valley. So I got my hometown repped and my new town repped all in one beer.
Man,
Oh yeah.
you are
This
winning.
is yeah, heck yeah. And yeah, they got this new logo on this. They got new branding on the bottle. So on one side it has the name of the beer. It's just this block lettering, white, just big E9, and then smaller lettering, all caps, Lichamers, fruited American Wild Ale. And on the other side they have this sort of like peach label that they're doing where it has the notes. So that they've just leaned into new branding, and I like the new branding. It fits their level of quality and their kind of their modern approach to some classic styles and everything. I think it's a really good move for them. I'm really excited about what they can do with that big facility. Because like I said, I think they're one of the best at what they do. Definitely under the radar too, which is great. Like their beer is not hard to find. Even their small, like I have some batches of their beer. Like I have some beers of theirs that are like 100 bottles or less. Like and it was, I just walked in and bought it, and it's like a world-class beer. And so it's just like, it's not that, it's like, it's easy to come by, but it's just, it's phenomenal beer. They've kind of taken me away since I've moved to Tacoma. My love for them has grown. It's kind of just made me kind of realize I don't need to wait in line as much for like, sorry, Holy Mountain, but Holy Mountain's like fruited sours, because E9s are typically as good or even better for the same style of beer. And it's easier for me to just go down to Tacoma Boys or go to E9 and buy the bottles there. And so it's super nice. I have a big love for them. I hope that they stay. I hope they do well enough, but don't get too popular, so I don't have to wait in line there ever.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, E9 is great. This beer is right on point as usual. Just great flavor from the stone fruit. Apricot is very present. Peach is there as well. There's with the stone fruit, you can get the acidity can really start overpowering, but this one is balanced. It's well done. The nose is just like straight up like you just cut open a ripe peach. Like it's so nice, or a ripe apricot. Like it's just beautiful. Like and yeah, this is well done. It's like a perfect level of carbonation, and like I assume they didn't force carbonate, it's just naturally carbonated from the yeast, and I'm sure they bottle it with some wild yeast as well that helps build it up. But yeah, just I highly recommend them just across the board, especially if you like sours and saisons. They do make some shirts that say "Keep Tacoma Sour," so they embrace the Tacoma branding. And the sour branding. So yeah, I guess I could fawn over them. I have a ton of their beers. This is the first one I picked out. I'm sure I'll drink another one on the show again, because I guess we're going to be doing this for a while. It seems we're still doing them in late May.
We are going strong.
Or early June. Sorry.
Early June. It is June, dude. And we even, as like people will find out, we even have Coug stuff to still talk about. It's the beginning of June.
This may be our last piece of news.
It might be. It might be.
Maybe till fall camp starts.
It might be.
Well, truthfully, I hope it is.
I'm not sure what other kind of news we could get.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a good thing if anything happened.
Pretty much all that's left now is for people to get arrested, and we're kind of like, I don't want that. So
I really want to talk about that
either. Anyway, finish. What? How many whatever's out of how many new E9s out of E9s?
How many new nine? This is five E9s out of 5 E9s. So that's
there you go.
E45.
Yeah. I have a hard time with E9 though, because every time I hear it, I think error right fielder. Am I the only one who
Probably not.
Who thinks that?
Probably not, but it's easier to say than engine house 9.
It definitely is. And I get why they would do it, because it's like,
it was just natural. People were calling it that anyway.
I mean, we called it E9. So we used to go there when I was in grad school at UPS, we would go there and kick back a couple because it was just down the street. So, and we called it E9, but I don't know. It just always struck me as funny.
Well, now That's it. You just get a big E9 on every beer. Just big E9. So
Error.
get used
Right
to it,
field
new
error.
sir. All right. Speaking of baseball,
Baseball.
WSU once again has a baseball coach.
Yeah. How about that?
All right, man. I'm gonna turn it over to you because you've done some nice research on this guy. His name is Brian Green. If you didn't
Yeah.
catch the intro, if you fast forward through the beer nonsense and you missed the intro,
That's right.
but yeah, Jeff. I mean, just my impression from what I've read from you and what I've read is that it's that if Pat Chun is establishing a pattern here.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. He's looking for guys with a track record of success. That's kind of what it looks like. Guys who one of the things that Chun really talked about when he hired Kyle Smith was that he really looked at what was successful for Wazoo in the past. And really thought about that when he was thinking about, who to hire for the basketball position. And I thought, that's really smart, right? Is to think about, okay, so you're at a unique place. And I think, again, who knows, we said this a million times already. I mean, who knows if these hires work out, right? But it's also like, okay, so as a fan of the school, I'm more interested in process, right? Like, so, I mean, obviously results matter the most, but obviously before you get to the results, I think you want to feel good about the process. And, when I listen to Pat Chun talk and I listen to him, say, what he was looking for and how he was looking into things, like, with basketball, he's like, I called Tony Bennett, I talked to George Raveling, and talked to Kelvin Sampson. It's like, that's really smart, right? And this is a guy who, before he went, to FAU, was pretty much a lifer at Ohio State. So about the only thing that Ohio State and Washington State have in common is that they are land grant universities. That's it. Because it's like, Ohio State has many more things in common with, say, Washington than it does with Washington State as, sort of the major university in the state and all that stuff, right? So, for him to spend pretty much his entire career there and then go to a place that doesn't really have, any athletic tradition, so to speak, and then to come here and really sort of understand seemingly pretty quickly that this little pretty different place, and not that is necessarily a limitation, but a strength. And, you get a guy like Kyle Smith and he's excited about, coming to a college town. His wife's from Eastern Washington, all this stuff. Right. And then when you hear, Brian Green talk, the new baseball coach, he is like beyond excited to be here. And it really is sort of a crazy thing, because I think a lot of our fans, and I think this is changing, but I think, our fans have a pretty long tradition of talking down the program, or just our athletic department in general, right? We don't have the money. We don't have this. We don't have that. We can't do whatever, right? And, he hires these guys who are successful mid-majors and who are excited to be here. And they've already, done the thing that they're going to need to do at Wazoo, which is, do more with fewer resources. And as much as we sort of, like I said, some people sort of lament it, it's like, no, okay, that's a reality. That's fine. But it's like, we don't look at that as like, oh, that means we can't succeed or we can't compete. And, so you take guys like, Mike Leach, who wants a challenge, right? He's trying to get back into football. He wants a challenge. You take a guy like Kyle Smith, who wants a challenge and, has never been at this level of basketball before as a coach. And so he's excited to be here. And then you take a guy like Brian Green, who, was at New Mexico State, Las Cruces. I've never been to Las Cruces, but I can't imagine it's the nicest place on earth. So he's excited to come to the Pac-12. I mean, I think, I mean, the other thing is, and this is kind of the last thing, I'll turn it back to you, is that it seems like with each of these hires, they've been really well received, not just by fans who are, sort of prone to, oh, it's the new guy, he's going to be great. But people in the industry, right? I mean, I don't know college baseball that well, but I've seen, a number of tweets from people who are pretty deep into college baseball who are like, oh, it's a great hire for Washington State. I'm like, I think people said, okay, Marty Lee's a good hire, but I don't remember people being quite as effusive as they have been with this. So yeah, I mean, it's, it's pretty exciting. The guy, did a really great job at New Mexico State and, produced more high draft picks at New Mexico State than we've produced in the last 15 years. And so I think all those things point to a guy who knows how to identify talent and develop it. And I think that's paramount for Washington State.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw an interview with him. He was in the airport, one of the local newspapers down in New Mexico. That he had previously told that reporter that he wouldn't leave his alma mater, New Mexico State, unless it was a Pac-12 or SEC program, basically. So, that's a pretty, I think, a smart way to do it. Like, hey, I'm available. That's like, I think on LinkedIn, you can set like certain settings. Like you can say like, I'm not looking, but I'm open. Like, and so like, it'll tell recruiters that you're open to be contacted, right, but like, you're not looking for a job. And so he kind of put that out there, Pac-12 or SEC school. And maybe Pat Chun saw that. Maybe it came under his radar. I think he looks at those things. I think it's well documented now. The nerd ball story is what caught his eye for Kyle Smith at USF. So who knows what he saw. And Brian Green said coming to Washington State was a dream come true. He's saying that to the Las Cruces press, and so he's not saying that an oppressor for WSU. So
right,
it's like you said, he's excited. Impressive resume. Took 30 plus wins, which you noted that WSU has won 27 in the last 2 seasons
combined.
But yeah, so 30 plus wins and NCAA regional appearance at a place that was in a pretty similar position as WSU is now in terms of relative to their conference and the number of games they were winning and all that. So it's a good hire because from what I understand, New Mexico State is building a new facility for baseball as well, and so he had reasons to stay there. It's his, he went to school there, and he had a chance to build that into his own little powerhouse. But Chun sold him on WSU, and that's pretty great.
Yeah, during his I haven't had a chance to watch much of his introduction conference today, but I do know that I did see a piece where he got almost a little bit emotional, kind of talking about the opportunity, and when somebody kind of talked to him afterwards and got him talking about it again, he started talking about the guys who have been at Washington State. He referenced Bobo Brayton, which of course is always a big winner for our crowd. But he did it in a totally, authentic way. Like he was like, no, this is a place that has been awesome. And there have been some amazing, people and coaches and players who have come through here. And he wants to be a part of that again. And he actually was getting a little emotional talking about being a part of that. And I'm not sure, I don't know. I'm not sure how many Cougs get emotional talking about it. Maybe a little bit, maybe after a few beers, maybe after watching the back home video, when Leon Bender's there with a rose in his mouth or Steve Gleason winks at you, I'm not saying that makes me get a little teary eyed, but maybe some other people. But yeah, I don't know, like there's just something about seeing a guy who really wants to be here. And, it's, Coug fans sort of beat this drum about the basketball search. Like, nobody's going to want this job. Nobody who's any good would ever take this job. And I'm just like, why do we do this? Well, and then, Kyle Smith gets here and he's just like, no way, man, this is amazing. Like I am, he's talking about like all the resources he's got here compared to where he was at. And I'm just like, yeah, like we focus too much on what we don't have. And, and of course this guy, Brian Green's going to get, he's going to be the beneficiary of a new, of a new facility over there at Bubba Brayton Field. So,
and a pretty sizable raise.
Yeah, and a pretty sizable raise. He got about 2.5 times what he was making down there in New Mexico. So, and he's making quite a bit more than Marty Lees was making. So Marty Lees was making $250. He's making $315, at least according to the report. And so that's a pretty big, it's a pretty big step up for him and a pretty big step up for us. And and I hope it works. I mean, I think it's funny. I don't think very many of us watch, the baseball games, but I think a lot of our fans kind of follow it, because we do have such a deep and rich tradition, and it really doesn't take much for, just a little bit of winning. I think gets people pretty interested in the baseball program. So, hopefully he'll be able to work some magic.
We saw this on Coug Center back when Coug Center was a lot smaller in terms of readership.
Yeah,
when
first couple of years.
Yeah, when Donnie Marbut took the team to a couple of regionals, and particularly the Arkansas one where they got to they were one game from the super regional.
Yep.
And there was dugout girls, and
that's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, go back and read those threads. They're fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, the fun story that is how those threads are how Mark Sandritter found Coug Center, which is funny. But if you guys don't know him, he's been a writer at Coug Center for almost since then, and
pretty much.
And he does at least one post a week now.
Yeah, he does our Monday morning post.
But has been a lot more. You may remember from the wide receiver posts a few years back, which were great. But anyway, so people found us because they were looking for content about the baseball team. I remember when I first started writing, we were like, okay, let's write about the baseball team, and I would just write these joke. Kind of these joke stories about them, then people actually started wanting to read about them, so we had to actually write real articles about the games. And but yeah, so we just saw when they were in regionals, there was a pretty sizable amount of Coug fans that cared about that, and I guarantee you if WSU went even deeper into the tournament, you get a lot of alums. I was at a soccer game in Tacoma. We talked about the Rain FC last week, but B and I were able to secure some club tickets. And before the match, they had the UW softball game on, and they're in the Women's College World Series. And there was people in there just glued to the TV watching it. And you imagine yeah, it'd be fun if WSU had softball because it's the same situation. Coug fans will get really fired up, and in baseball, they'll get fired up because people know baseball. Baseball is a major sport in the U.S. They can adapt to it. They can come around to it pretty quickly. College baseball is not as big as football and basketball, but people know baseball. Most people played baseball when they were kids. They know the game. They know what's going on. And they love when their school is attached to it. So yeah, there can be a lot of passion around the baseball team. I think if they start getting good, and people know when they're really bad, and they get excited when they're really good. So hopefully, maybe in a few years, we'll be able to be a little bit more excited again.
Yeah, and I mean, he did it in New Mexico State in 2 years, so we'll see what happens. I am curious to see how much of the roster stays intact, simply because, obviously you bring in a new guy. And baseball is sort of weird because, the majority of those guys sign early. And so they, if you make a change in, June, right? Or May. I mean, obviously, Lees was fired, whatever, 2 weeks ago. You make that change in late May. I mean, it's not like a basketball situation where you've kind of got time to shop around and kind of figure out, okay, maybe I don't want to go there. Maybe I actually want to look around, whatever. Right. I mean, there's just not a lot of time, I mean, it's June 5th and they just hired a new guy. I mean, you don't get a chance to like meet him. You don't get a chance to talk to him. So I don't know, kind of how much opportunity there is for that. I know Marty Lees, made a lot of changes his first year. And I think that obviously didn't work out real great for him. So I don't know. I do know that when Green took over at New Mexico State, he took over a fairly young roster there as well. I'm going to write about that, hopefully maybe early next week, but took over a pretty young roster there as well. Didn't make a lot of changes. They won 11 games, which obviously is not very many. And then it was a pretty senior heavy team. So a lot of those seniors graduated. It was that second year where he had a ton of turnover. He only actually had 3 guys stick around from his first year to his second year, but the guys that he recruited went out and won 34 games. So, hopefully that's the kind of situation we're looking at. He inherits a very, very young roster. I think, it was his last couple classes have been fairly well regarded by recruiting services. So, and again, I don't follow it that closely, so I don't know how many of those guys are still around, but yeah, I mean, I think there's some hope that, with some good coaching, with some development that, that maybe a fairly quick turnaround can be executed. And I think that's another sort of maybe similarity between this and the change that Chun made in basketball. I don't know if I totally agree with this, but Pat Chun said that he felt like there was plenty of talent on the basketball team and that coaching was the issue. I don't know if he still feels that way now that they basically turned over half the roster. Right. But CJ Ellaby's coming back, and I think that was more the thing that he was referring to, and maybe that's the way he felt here as well, that, making a change with a roster that was fairly young, was better than making a change with a bunch of exiting players, because, you've got some guys who, he feels like can play, and you bring in the right coach, and then you're sort of off and running. So I don't know if that was a similar thought process or not. Like I said, I didn't watch today's comments, so I don't know if Chun said anything to that effect today during the introduction. But I think that's something that's that's at least a little similar from the basketball move.
Yeah. And it's just it's similar to the basketball move in that it's just you maybe hadn't heard of the guy before, which with baseball honestly would have been anyone that they hired.
Pretty much anybody.
But I mean, and we had heard of Kyle Smith, but it was really like once you dig into these guys' resumes, you just get more and more impressed. And so it's just you start to be more impressed with them. And then the similarity of being sold on WSU and their ability to win here. It's being a dead horse, but like if you look back at the the major hires that Moose made some very good hires in obviously in Mike Leach. But even Mike Leach, I think getting Mike Leach was more about getting the name and less about getting I think Moose was a little more name driven, and so he figured, oh, Ernie Kent, people have heard of him, and so I'll hire him. And maybe there was Marty Leese's attachment to Oregon State. I don't know why what happened there, but yeah, like I just think like he was looking for these sizzle hires, as he would say, that, and he would also say that he was his own coaching search company or whatever,
right? I am the search firm.
He's the search firm. And so but obviously Chun is here looking for input from anyone that will provide it, or anyone reputable that will provide it, and I think it's led to some just on the face some more thought out and kind of hires that you can see, like you can see why they were made. Like there's success in this guy at a place where there wasn't success before. He's looking for builders, and it looks like he got another builder. Obviously, I think Smith had more of a record because he did it twice.
Yeah.
But Green has just done it once. But I think maybe the connections of Green to the recruiting on the West Coast, having been at UCLA, and just that's probably another notch in his belt, and so he's kind of, people see him as a good recruiter. So having that plus being a builder, and that's what we need at WSU. We need guys that can build programs, make them sustainable.
Yep. That's the key. And you got to have people who can do it a certain way. And like I said, I think that's the thing that's sort of impressing me the most about Chun is that he seems to pretty quickly have understood, like, again, this is a different place. You got to look for a different kind of coach. You can't just, mail it in as, maybe his predecessor did. And the hilarious part of that is that his predecessor should have known better than anybody, right? What it takes to win at Washington State. And so, I mean, again, who knows if these work out? But the process seems sound, and so I just I hope he got it right.
Yeah, me too. Let's just have nothing but winning sports to write about, and that would be great.
That would be so awesome.
And talk about.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, we'll just be be one of those programs. I mean, we've got some good programs. Obviously, rowing. Soccer, tennis had a great year. Volleyball's been doing well. So we have some programs that have been building, and football, obviously. But some major sports, the women's basketball, men's basketball, and baseball have just fallen by the wayside. And it would be great to have those kind of more visible sports be good, or at least watchable.
Yep. That's our standard is pretty low, right? I mean, just because it's funny, like we're going through, with the exception of men's basketball and baseball and women's basketball, like you just talked about, we're kind of going through a renaissance with a lot of other sports, right? Soccer is really good. Volleyball is really good. Track and field is, good as they've been. I mean, swimming is, on the ups. I mean, tennis, had their best season in quite a while this year. So there's like all these really good things going on, and it's like, oh my God, tennis made the NCAA tournament. And it's like, man, you look at some of the other schools in the Pac-12 and they're like, this is like every year. This is what we do every year. It's like, hey, you know what?
I think UCLA
don't rain on our parade here.
I can't remember the number, but I think UCLA just won like their 8th softball national title or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it. So like, we're especially in the California programs and UW as well. There's just like a history of like the non-football, non-men's basketball, just like having very dominant programs, even especially in the women's sports. And that's where, like the Conference of Champions things come from. I mean, obviously like Stanford and UCLA, I think they have like the 100 titles or whatever. I mean, there's some of these sports that they're winning titles in where there's just not very many teams in the NCAA, like men's volleyball, beach volleyball, water polo, things like that, where like if you have a program, you're already kind of up there. And if you have the program and you have the money to invest in it, and maybe you're in a rare talent-rich place where people play volleyball and water polo just for fun, it works out really well, and you win all sorts of titles. But at WSU doesn't have any sort of niche sport like that they can call to where they get a bunch of titles. But it's just nice to have teams that are fun to root for, especially the teams that are harder to follow. It's hard to follow the tennis team. Like you just have to read the press releases that come out,
right.
The WSUCougars.com coverage of it, And so, just see, and I know I remember they had a really good start to the season. They were, hadn't lost as a team in a quite a while. And then you kind of lose track of them. And then you see they get picked to the tournament, and that's kind of how it goes. And it gives you a little tinge of pride. And it goes back to like I was talking about with the baseball, you get that pride from when the team, and it's fun. And I'd love it to be back. And, here's to it being back.
Yeah.
In 2 years. 2 years. That's what you did in New Mexico. So New Mexico State. So 2 years.
You know what? Fuck that. I expect next year.
Next year, national championship in baseball.
That's right.
Or
That's
bust.
that's back to Omaha.
Back to Omaha. Win at Omaha, or you're fired. That's in the contract.
That's right.
Contract null and void if you don't win a national title in the first year. That's all. That's actually in Kyle Smith's contract too. They didn't talk about it.
We expect only greatness at Washington State. We will accept nothing less.
Yeah, we need to change the mentality here.
That's right. Mentality
not be
changed.
little brother anymore.
The mentality has been changed.
All right. So we're just gonna have to come up with WSU shit to talk about. We got some stuff planned. I hope will come to fruition, because I think it'd be quite fun for everyone. But yeah, so that may be our last fun WSU news to talk about for 2 months. And then it's just gonna be like football practice reports. So I'm not sure how fun those are. But,
yeah. No.
Yeah. So, Jeff, we haven't done many politics segments lately, and I don't even know if this is politics or.
That's probably why our listenership keeps going up, because we're not doing things like calling the president a racist anymore.
Yeah, but we couldn't let this one go by without comment.
For sure.
So this is from a Department of Energy press release. This is not fake news. This is not spin from someone misheard an interview and misinterpreted it. I'll just read a few choice sentences from a press release entitled "Advances Commitment to U.S. Jobs, Economic Growth, Clean Energy," which just kind of is a weird. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a subheading. Department of Energy authorizes additional LNG exports from Freeport LNG. So this is offering additional natural gas exports. Increasing export capacity from the Freeport LNG project is critical to spreading freedom gas throughout the world by giving America's allies a diverse and affordable source of clean energy. That's right. It's not natural gas anymore. It's freedom gas.
Freedom gas.
Oh, and it gets better. In a quote farther down, this is from the Freeport LNG. This is Undersecretary of Energy Mark Menezes. No. He says, "I'm pleased the Department of Energy is doing what it can to promote an efficient regulatory system that allows for molecules of U.S. freedom to be exported to the world." Molecules of U.S. freedom, which are, of course, referring to molecules of natural gas, which are U.S. freedom in its smallest, its essence.
The essence of freedom.
So this is just some straight up, this is just we're not even pretending, just straight up nonsense propaganda stuff.
You know what though? This is not, it's not like this is, I mean, obviously this is sort of the most flagrant example of it, to where we all laugh, right? I mean, this is back when,
I don't even think the most the most fervent patriot still would probably roll his eyes at reading that. Are you serious?
I don't know, man. I'm old enough to remember freedom fries.
Oh God.
Are you old enough to remember freedom fries, Craig?
Yes, I am.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I mean, it's just this sort
But
of like,
freedom fries was like that was changing a name because people were mad at France for not supporting a war.
right,
But
right.
this is just like taking a normal name of something that no one was like disputing
Yeah,
and just like putting
yeah,
freedom in there.
yeah.
Freedom, yeah, no, it's not natural gas. Natural is
Freedom.
bad.
Also, carbon dioxide is freedom molecules.
Yeah, yeah. Freedom molecules, carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Um, every time you drive your car, I mean, think about if you want to be putting out the most molecules of U.S. freedom,
The most
you're gonna
amount of
get the most
freedom.
gas guzzling ass car. Nothing built after like 1960. Like it's got to be getting like 4 miles to the gallon, and you got to be like gunning that thing off of stoplights. You got to be going 90 on the freeway. I mean, it probably wouldn't be able to,
Right.
but yeah, you just you got to get as many molecules of U.S. freedom into the air. You know, but really, like, how patriotic are cows? Like all the molecules of U.S. freedom.
That's right.
They're
They're
just
very patriotic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I mean it's just it's like comical. Like they just I just think about how many people reviewed this press release and they were like, yes, yes, let's use freedom gas and molecules of U.S. freedom. Um, that's perfectly fine. Maybe they thought people like us will spread it around and talk about it. I have no like I still I don't really know what this is, and I don't it's they're exporting they're allowing for exporting more natural gas. Okay, I don't that's not what matters to me in this press release. What matters to me is the molecules that this is like just completely ridiculous and
Yeah.
embarrassing. Like this is from the Department of Energy. It's a .gov address. It's an official government press release, and it uses these ridiculous
Yeah.
statements. And the government, like, it's particularly with like the naming of bills, can get pretty ridiculous in how they name things. But that's usually in the spirit of creating some acronym. But
Yes.
but this is just like
Yeah.
ridiculous. This is just taking it to another level. Uh,
The thing is that this is not, I mean, this is actually pretty on brand for the decisions they've been making. And I know it's ridiculous. I mean, like, we're laughing at the ridiculousness of it. So I get that. I'm not saying it's not ridiculous. But I am saying, like, I mean, even recently you can look at a list of things that are sort of in this same vein. Okay, so we've got this is ridiculous. I mean, freedom, molecules, and whatever, right? But I was listening to the New York Times does a daily podcast called, oddly enough, The Daily, and and they did a show recently on the climate change report that was put out by the government's own scientists. Okay, so they do this like once. I think they said it was something like once every 4 years, and so the government put out this extensive report which basically said we're all doomed, right? And it came out, and so the Trump administration, and by law they are mandated to publish it and make it available. So they put it out on Black Friday. I don't know if you remember this, but they put it out on Black Friday, and it's and so they kind of tried to hide it as best they could by putting it out on Black Friday while everybody was out shopping. And so they've got this law that says they have to do this thing, every few years or whatever. And so what they've decided now for the next one is that they are going to, they can't not do one, but what they can do is institute regulations, right? So this is the how laws are carried out, right? So what they did was they instituted a policy and a regulation that said, okay, rather than looking at, climate change, I want to say something like 60 to 80 years into the future as they try to kind of figure out, okay, where are we heading, right? They limited it, and I want to say that the policy now limits the projections to maybe like 30 years or 20 years, something like that. I mean, something very
Yeah.
short, comparatively speaking. And so what they've done is they've just said, no, you're not allowed to project beyond that because, well, we just don't know, right? So we're just going to leave out that part of the science. We're just going to leave out that part of the projection because that's the part that looks really bad, right? Well, what's it going to look like in 20 years? Okay, fine. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so you sort of change the narrative by eliminating basically some of the science, right? And then, one of our writers, Brian Anderson, posted on Slack today that the Trump administration is looking to reclassify some of the extremely, extremely, extremely radioactive waste at Hanford that is high risk, bad radioactive waste into not so bad radioactive waste. We can just leave it down there and we don't have to clean it up anymore just by like giving it a new name, right? We're going to reclassify it into a lower risk. We're just going to say, not that it is lower risk. We're just going to call it lower risk. And now we don't have to clean it up anymore. And it'll save us like $40 billion. It's like, you can't just wish this stuff away. Right? You can't just give it a new name and all of a sudden, carbon dioxide isn't bad because now we call them freedom molecules. I mean, it's like, it's still bad. And, I mean, it's depressing because it's like, we're all going to pay for this. We're all going to pay the piper at some point on all this stuff. And, I know that all the old white guys making all these rules right now and coming up with all these names right now are going to be dead before any of this stuff happens. But unlike them, I actually care about my children and I'd like them to be able to live on an inhabitable planet.
Well, yes,
so there.
I did my good deed with our brand new car that we bought, which is already not the best for the environment, but we just get to feel morally superior because we bought a hybrid and it gets 44 miles to the gallon. But it's tempered by the fact that we bought the RAV4, which is bigger and more gas guzzling. We could have bought we wanted an all-wheel drive car. We could have bought a Prius that got about 10 miles more to the gallon. But I'm a big motherfucker and I'm tired. We've been driving a Mazda.
Yes, you are.
We've been driving a Mazda 3 that we bought brand new in 2009, and we still have it. We didn't trade it in. We wanted a second car. So we bought a Mazda 3 in 2009. I've been driving that Mazda 3. It's got 55,000 miles on it. I've probably driven it for at least 100 of the 155. So Mazda 3s are not big. So man, I am loving that RAV4. It drives itself. It gives you a score at the end of which I love. It gives you a score on your eco driving.
That's hilarious.
and it literally
does it give you a number or does it give you a letter grade? Because I think it'd be great if it gave you a letter grade.
It gives you a number, but it'd
be so great if you pulled in, it was like D+.
The number has a different color based on your score.
Okay.
Yeah, so I remember Amanda drove to a place and I drove back, and she was getting better gas mileage on the way there because it does a little gas mileage thing, which you can believe or not. But I would wonder why they would lie about it because you could so easily check it. You could just be like, I put 10 gallons in and I got this many miles, but your thing said I was getting this, and that's wrong. So I feel like that would. It's in their best interest to make that accurate, at least mostly accurate. The little which most cars have, new cars have now, that tells you the miles per gallon you're getting.
Right.
But yeah, so she got better than me on the way back, but she got an eco score of 65, and I got an eco score of 85.
Well, you are clearly
I just had a more
superior
challenging. I am a better liberal. Because I am burning less, I am releasing less freedom molecules of freedom into the air. I'm trying to minimize my molecules of freedom, and just ensure that the air has more, I don't know, socialist atoms or something. I just, that's just what we try to do. Mostly, we just wanted to pay less in gas. We're not that. Yeah, we are. We know the results of our actions. We just haven't been great at changing them yet. because I think the real thing would be just not driving your car so much. But
That would be. That
I,
would
I
be.
have like I do travel. Like my big contribution to freedom molecules is in the many miles I have flown in the past few years for work. But I'm doing that quite a bit less this year. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
That is
less.
a hugely under appreciated source of greenhouse gases. Like I don't think people really I don't think most people really have any clue how much airplanes major commercial jets put off with all the flights that they make.
Yeah. Um, yeah,
That's
they
a
did.
huge one.
Yeah. So is
Yeah.
apparently eating steak. So,
Apparently.
yeah.
I'll never stop doing that though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not that good at the
I'm really
liberal.
good at feeling guilty, so I can do things and feel guilty about them and just keep doing them. So, I just like live a life of guilt. So just you can throw more guilt at me, and I'll just be like, okay, yeah, man, I should go vegan, and I'll really lower my carbon footprint. But God, I love this hamburger.
Yeah. Have you tried any of the new
Yes, so
plant-based like Impossible
I,
Burger or any of
I
those?
haven't tried the Impossible Burger, but I've tried the Beyond Burger,
Okay.
and
How
it
was
j-
it?
it nails pretty well like the texture and everything, um, but it just tastes like a shitty burger, like a low quality burger, basically. And
Okay.
they're usually more expensive than
Yeah.
the other burgers. So like if you're just like yeah, Amanda had bought one when we were. She had wanted to try one, but yeah, I've heard the Impossible Burger is better than the Beyond Burger, so
Yeah.
you guys should try it. Like they're definitely like they're a lot better than the old black bean burgers and things like that. In terms of emulating the experience
Yeah.
of eating a hamburger.
I'm
But
100% willing to try that.
yeah,
Like
and it's not
I'm
that
not
bad.
opposed to that. I don't know that there will ever be a substitute like for
If if
for
you
a steak or
if you like
something, but
if you like steak and you like the beefy fat flavor, you're just not gonna get that
no. No.
from no matter because they're mostly trying to match the texture,
Right.
and they've done a really good job like at that.
I listened to I think it was Freakonomics podcast. They talked with one of the developers of these alternative plant-based meats in quotation marks, right? And just sort of everything that went into developing it from texture to color. They put a little bit of the whatever the thing is from the hemo whatever that makes it red, to put that in there so that it actually looks like meat. Like anyway, it was pretty fascinating. So I don't know, anybody who's interested in that. I don't know. There's a Freakonomics podcast. It was very good, and you can learn about all the research and the science that went into these plant-based meats. And I would do it for a burger. I like I said, I don't think I'd do it for a steak. There are
Well, I
just
don't
some
think
things you
they.
can't substitute. But
Yeah, they're just not gonna. I don't think they would even try. But that's one thing you've never seen the vegans do a substitute with. Like it's funny, I have vegan friends and they'll share pictures of their food and they look like the normal food, but I'm like, I know that it's not. Like, I know that's
right,
made out of soy or whatever. Like,
right,
but like you've never seen a steak because it's like there's like it's just like impossible to
right.
like, and I don't know. And the funny thing you mentioned the kind of emulating the blood juices, or it's not blood, but it's whatever it
Right.
is. But they I've seen some from vegan friends that like they don't like that aspect of because they're like I don't eat meat that I don't desire that like blood dripping like look, and so that it kind of turns them off of those burgers a little bit.
Yeah.
But they obviously do like that they exist because every vegan wants everyone else to be a vegan. So um, I will say I did have some friends in Vermont that did not like. They were like these closet vegans. Like I I'd known them for a long time before I even realized it, because you can just be around people and they're ordering like a veggie dinner and you're just thinking like, oh, maybe they're just like on a diet, or maybe they just don't feel like eating steak tonight or a burger or whatever, which is fine, you shouldn't eat that stuff every day anyway, but how do I want to? But yeah, so maybe, we can change though, Jeff. We can change as humans.
We can.
So I had a prompt for you this week.
Yeah.
And I gave you all of maybe the last hour to think about it while also talking about other things.
Yeah. I haven't thought that much about it, but I'm going to try.
So on the topic of changing, maybe you can think of something, think back to junior high or high school, something that you just loved, that you were so into. And what got me thinking about this is like, I've seen a lot of on Facebook, like people talk about what's the first album you bought, or what's, what's like the album you've listened to the most in your life or something. So it got me thinking about like albums that like stuff I listened to when I was like 14 or 15, things that I was super into when I was like 14 or 15 that are just like not a part of my life and haven't been for quite a while. And so I was thinking I could do mine first, but I wanted to see if you had one.
Yeah. So, well, I definitely can tell you the first CD I ever bought. That was Licensed to Ill by the Beastie Boys.
Oh, very nice.
That was definitely the first one.
I don't even remember. I'm sure it was at Sam Goody because they would let me buy the, even though I was under 17, they would let me buy the explicit lyrics ones. Sam Goody and the Yakima Mall. Rest in peace, Yakima Mall.
Yeah, rest in peace, Sam Goody.
Yeah, rest in peace of both those.
Rest in peace, all of that, and CDs,
it's CDs,
and CDs, just all of it, just all of it. Rest in peace to all of it. No, so like one thing I distinctly remember loving. So your original prompt was, when I was 14. So I was trying to think back to when I was 14. So I was 14 in the very early 90s. So that would be like 91, 92. And so, as I was thinking back to then, the things I really, really loved back then, and it's nothing that sort of makes me cringe now or anything like that, but I sort of chuckle at it. I really, really, really loved In Living Color, which some people might remember was, the comedy sketch show on Fox, featured, Jim Carrey and all the Wayans brothers. And man, I loved that show more than
Fireman Bob. Is that what it was?
Yeah, Fire Marshal Bill.
Fire Marshal Bill.
I
was so close.
Let me show you something. I'm going to stick this fork right here in this outlet. See what happens. Let me show you something. I loved it. And so, it's one of those things where, you have to be, I think a couple things. You have to be of a certain age to sort of appreciate what it meant to have, some sort of appointment viewing to watch a show or something like that. Obviously today you don't have to do anything. Like, tonight I watched, the Sounders on the DVR, like it's just whatever. And so, but back then it was, early 90s, if you wanted to watch it, you had to either watch it when it happened or record it on the VCR. And that was the one show we had so at 14, you're freshman in high school or whatever, pretty tight, bedtime in my house still when I was 14. So, I had to be going to bed at like 8. Well, Living Color came on at 8. And that was the one night a week I was allowed to stay up for an extra half an hour to watch something on TV. And I loved that show. And I look back now and it was so like, it was so the 90s, right? And it was just,
oh man, yeah.
And I just sort of, all the, some of the sketches they had, and some of it was so edgy at the time. You had the, I remember, the Men on Film show, which was the public access show with the two gay men reviewing movies, and it was like, that was so like, just nobody, SNL wouldn't touch that sort of thing. They're just, and then Jim Carrey was allowed to be himself. It just, really great show. And I just look back now and I kind of chuckle because it was such a big deal big deal to me, and sort of like I think a bit of a cultural touchstone. So yeah, that's something I think back on that sort of makes me laugh.
Just a random thought. Do you remember the movie that the movie that Marlon Wayans was in, where he played for the UW basketball team, and his like brother died and was a ghost helping the
Oh
team
my
win?
gosh, yes, I remember that.
I don't even remember what it was called, but I remember as a kid, I was like, "This is cool. That's like, that's like a team from Washington." Before I was a Coug, but yeah, I think you probably would have been at WSU by then.
Okay,
Uh,
hold on, I'm looking it up. So keep talking.
yeah, so I remember, yeah, that movie. It was like, but I remember, I was very young when Living Color was out, but my parents are pretty young because they had me in their early 20s, so they watched a lot of kind of like they watched The Real World on MTV when I was growing up, and they watched In Living Color. So I remember watching like In Living Color when I was like 8 or 9, and like I remember Jim Carrey and the Wayans brothers and stuff, and they had quite a career after that. All of the like quite a few people from that show did. That movie stuck out to me. Like it's just funny that they chose Washington of all schools. I remember the uniforms were kind of off. Like they kind of like made their own. They took like the colors, but kind of did their own sort of uniforms. But they win the national championship. And after it's kind of like Angels in the Outfield. After the Ghost brother had helped him all season, Marlon Wayans shoots a Gordon Hayward-esque half-court shot for the win, and it bounces up off. And I remember he mouths to his brother, who is in ghost form above, "Let it go." Like, just let me do this on my own, even though he's like helped him the entire season. Like, oh, now I'm above this. Like,
Now you're gonna feel
now that
guilty.
you've got me on the brink, I'll go with the odds whether or
Now I'll
not I
have a
might win the
conscience.
title on this one. But yes, he lets it go and it goes in. Kawhi Leonard style, not like Gordon Hayward. It goes in, and UW Black wins the national championship in basketball in that movie.
So the name of the movie is The Sixth Man, weirdly enough, right? Very creative name. And here's the synopsis. Antoine and Kenny Tyler are NCAA college basketball players, and Antoine is the star of the team. Suddenly, Antoine dies of a heart attack, and Kenny has to fill his shoes as leader of the team. Sometime later, Antoine returns as a ghost and helps Kenny in game and in life. But Kenny changes in the process and doesn't quite like it.
So Amanda and I like to do a thing when we're seeing previews at a movie to guess what the Rotten Tomatoes score will be for that movie.
Yeah.
So Jeff, just based on that synopsis, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes? Given there's only 13 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, this is the critic score.
Yeah.
What would you guess the Rotten Tomatoes score would be? I don't know how familiar you are with Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm familiar. I'm gonna go 13%.
23%, but like I said,
so
it's only 13 reviews. If you give it more reviews, I'm sure eventually that
It
thing
might
could
drop
work
that
its way
far.
down to 13%.
That's funny. By the way, do you know who played? So Marlon Wayans played Kenny Tyler. Do you know who played Antoine Tyler?
Well, I'm looking at it right now because I was looking.
Oh, well, now you know.
But the very famous Kadeem Hardison.
Yeah, A Different World.
Oh, Kadeem Hardison.
I remember him from A Different World, by the way, because I'm a child of the 90s.
His highest rated Rotten Tomatoes movie is a great movie with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. And apparently he was all about basketball. This is White Men Can't Jump.
Oh.
What would you think? What do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score for White Men Can't Jump is?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna go 70%.
Ooh, man, 76.
Oh, it's close.
Pretty good.
That's close.
Good. The problem with Amanda and I in our game is that we never record the scores that we say. So like we're always like, what did we say that one was? Like I don't remember.
That's
So
funny.
we need to, although we go to movies much less often together now
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the whole baby thing. But anyway, so I guess for my answer, now that we've gone on that very long tangent, so when I was like 13, 14, I got really into the new metal. It's NU with like the dots over
Uh-huh.
line or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So one of my, well, definitely my favorite album when I was 14 was Slipknot's self-titled debut LP, uh, and featuring uh, such lines as "fuck it all," "fuck this world," "fuck everything that you stand for," "don't belong," "don't exist," "don't give a shit," and "don't ever judge me," which is was one of my favorite lines when I was 14, when I was a little angsty teenager with no friends who just played video games in my room and listened to Slipknot's self-titled album on repeat. And because what made me think of that, and I like probably after the age of 17, like never listened to that album again. And there's some things I still listen to, like there's an album by Finch called "What It Is to Burn" that I came out when I was like 17, and I still listen to that like to this day. But that Slipknot album, yeah. So today when I was thinking about it, I fired it up this morning. I only got a few songs in, and then I had to do something else. But I still knew like most of the words, and because I have listened to that album probably thousands of times. Like it was just in my CD changer, like 6 disc CD player or whatever. But it was just on repeat all the time, all the time. Slipknot, and like I saw Slipknot a couple times while I was in high school. Like so, like I was just so into Slipknot. I did a 1 week at school where I had enough Slipknot T-shirts to where I could wear a Slipknot T-shirt every single day to class for school, and some of them were like definitely not appropriate, but I was such like a highly regarded student. I could get away with shit with the teachers. I had a shirt that said I had my wonderful dad when I was 14 took me and my cousins to Ozfest, and that was one of the times I saw Slipknot. And I bought a shirt at it that it was like the concert shirt, and on the back above the dates listed, it said the greatest fucking show on the planet or something, the greatest fucking show in the world or something, like fucking spelled out. And I would wear that to school, and I never got in trouble. Like I
What?
never got in trouble with that. It literally.
You would not have gotten away with that in my class. I just need you to know that. That would definitely not have happened.
Yep. So I wore it to school. I'm sure I probably wore that shirt like at least half a dozen times to school,
Oh
like
my
just to
gosh.
test it out.
Just to see who would say something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they never did, huh?
And no one ever did. Like
Oh
no
my
one ever did.
gosh.
I
I guess they had
guarantee
bigger
the
fish to
teachers saw
fry.
it.
They probably had bigger fish to fry.
Oh yeah, yeah. They definitely did. Like they're like Craig is not fucking
They're
doing
like,
the thing.
we're not worried about that. We're gonna worry about the guy over here selling weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so greatest fucking show on the planet, Slipknot self-titled album. Go ahead and listen to it if you want a little yelling and screaming. It's like in terms of like metal, it's pretty poppy. So there's like some pretty poppy riffs to it. It's kind of like faux satanic. Like it's not really like it's like the PG. Well, it's definitely not PG-13. It's just like there's like 1,000 f bombs in that, and every other cuss word and whatever, and talking about hurting people and hurting yourself and whatever. But yeah, it's um, yeah. So I was thinking like I used to listen to the fuck out of that album, and like they were my most favorite band, and that was my most favorite album in the world for like maybe like a year and a half. And then I just like I don't know, I just like stopped listening to like that genre of music really, and then and just kind of like, because I was really into like Korn, and then until they had this one album that I did not like. It was the one after the one that was really popular. I don't even remember the names of them anymore. But Slipknot, self-titled album. I even had it as the alarm for me every morning to go to school. But you remember the stacked CD changer, the six
Oh
like
yeah.
they were stacked, so they would kind of do this like moving thing out, and you could hear the trays moving around. So I would always just wake up to the trays moving, like because I would set an
Yeah.
alarm. Like you could set the CD player to have an alarm, but I would just wake up to the sound of the trays moving. And there's just this like the start of the album is just like this kind of like woman's sound saying like now Mister, I think it's sick. And so it would just like it would say that like, and so I wouldn't even like wake up to like any music. It would be like waking up to the tray and then waking up to this like woman's voice. but I really wanted to have Slipknot be my alarm. And so that's what I did. But yeah, so that was yeah, I don't have any of those. Jeff, do you know what Slipknot fans are called?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's probably passed your students by, so you probably don't see it.
Probably.
But they're called maggots.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I was a proud maggot.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
But now and then like in my early 20s, I got really into like fucking indie folk rock, and so like I couldn't go farther away. Like I just
That's pretty far away.
yeah.
Yep, that's pretty far away.
I just went to I was stoked because a Portland band who had some sort of national fame, but they called Blitzen Trapper.
Oh yeah, I know Blitzen Trapper.
And they played a show, and I found out the day before, and they played a show at the new McMenamin's place, which is pretty cool in Tacoma, and they have a concert facility there, and so I was able to go. They were doing it was like I probably like was really into Blitzen Trapper like 10 years ago at this point, and so it's another one of those bands I don't listen to quite as much anymore, but probably more recent enough that I still will throw the album on the old whatever service once in a while. Yeah, and I actually discovered them, Jeff, which you may have too, through Chuck.
Yep.
The TV show.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. Yeah. So, so I was able to see them about 10 years after I was super into them, and it was great. Great show. I was so excited. But definitely not a little bit different than a Slipknot. Like I think if I went to a Slipknot concert now, I would hang in the back.
You might die.
Yeah, I would just hang in the back with and just kind of be like, "This is very loud."
Hey, all that bumping into each other you're doing up there looks very dangerous. Will you all be safe up there, please?
Sir, there are children here.
I'm sorry, you do not appear.
Language?
You do not appear to have the proper ear protection. Here, I brought some extra earplugs. Why don't you put those in?
No, but Jeff, do you know like what Slipknot looks like when they're performing and stuff?
No clue.
Just look up a picture, man.
I mean, there's got to be headbanging involved, right?
No, just look up a picture of Slipknot.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking.
Just see if you do, it's like all there. Or no, I did Slipknot, so that's why I did it. But so Slipknot, so they wear these masks.
Okay, so I see the masks.
Yeah, and so this is just like when they're
total nightmare
like,
fuel.
The lead singer like sings in this fucking mask, and it's just like, I mean, they played as like a regular old band, but like, and if you see them, like, yeah, it's just like, they went by numbers, like they all had numbers. So it was like,
Craig, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight now.
There was like, I think there was like, when I was listening to them, there was like 9 members of the band. Like it was just fucking just a goddamn mess. And it kind of sounds like it. It's not that like it is like, you could see where they had like some pretty good commercial success, because it's like a very approachable, like especially for like teenagers, a very approachable like metal. Like it's not that intimidating. You can understand the words he's saying. Like he's screaming, but you can still like tell what he's saying and stuff. And so it's like, yeah. And plus the masks, so they're very kind of like they have kind of a hook. Like, so, look, we're weird. We have
Yeah.
masks and we go by numbers and blah blah blah. And but yeah, so something I was
Obviously,
very
it worked.
yeah, something I was very, very into when I was 14. I was listening to the album today. I don't hate it now. I laugh at some of the lyrics. But I think I don't hate like the music that much, but like and plus it's like nostalgic and I know it so well.
Sure.
It's like it's not I could still listen to it. Like if I had it on the car and you were listening to it, you're like, Craig, what the fuck are we listening to?
But it is, I mean, but music's like that though. I mean, obviously you sort of, outgrew a Slipknot, but for me it was always Pearl Jam. I haven't outgrown that. And so there are still songs that come on and I'm like transported back to 14, 15, 16 years old. When I first heard those songs and I would just, back when I had tapes, not CDs, but tapes, right? And I would listen, so you don't get to like listen to 1,000 different songs. You just put the tape in and you listen to the tape, over and over and over again. Unless you had one of those, really fancy tape decks where you could push the fast forward button and then it would actually pop back out at the end of the song, right?
Yeah.
Did you have one of those?
No, I never had one of those.
You had to be fancy to have one of those. And I just, so I mean, yeah, I mean, all these songs I listened to over and over and over again because I didn't have, 8,000, 10 billion songs at my fingertips, that I could listen to at any time. Instead, I had my, 5 tapes, right? Whichever tape happened to be. And so I had my 5 Pearl Jam tapes or whatever. And I would just, listen to the song and sing along and you'd learn all the words because,
you just listen to it
you would just listen to it so many times that you have no way of listening to it without eventually picking up the words. And so then you sing, very loudly and very badly. And so I mean, even today, there are certain things I listen to that still, whenever, the original, like original studio recording of a song from like, 10 or something like that comes on, I'm still thinking like, or Alive, which is still my favorite song. I'm like, yeah, it's like, I remember, like 25 years ago, like it was yesterday. It's very bizarre and makes me feel very old.
Well, there's another one like Metallica Reload.
Oh yeah.
When I was 12.
Yeah.
And I still had my Super Nintendo and I would play Super Mario World. I have very distinct memories of playing Super Mario World while playing Metallica Reload, like while listening to Metallica Reload. I connect the two. Like if I see a reference to one or the other, like I like they're related to each other for me. And for Slipknot, it'd probably be like Triple Play Baseball 2000 or something. I don't know. Like I played a lot of that. Had Sammy Sosa on the cover. I remember still.
I do remember being into Metallica a bunch too when I was like freshman, sophomore, and I got into like old school Metallica. So I'd listen to one, and over again. And yeah, that was my that was definitely, that one was a phase. That one was definitely a phase. That was me and some football teammates, and we were all very bad at football, but we thought we were good. And
but you got to get pumped up.
That's right. We got super pumped up listening to one. And
I remember my dad would tell me that James Hetfield, he only screams. He doesn't even sing. And I'd be like, shut up, Dad. You don't know what you're talking about.
They're amazing.
They're the best.
Yeah.
It's the best music. They just don't know. Slipknot's the best musicians.
I know.
They're the best.
Well, and the funny thing was, like, it definitely got worse from there too, because I have distinct memories of going to fraternity parties and having Limp Bizkit Nookie on.
Oh God. Well, that wasn't even like Limp Bizkit.
I did it all for the Nookie, Craig.
Limp Bizkit's first album with the cover of George Michael Faith. I was all about that. My Woodstock 99, the last one. Although they're talking about doing another one but I think it's going to be. I mean, there's so many festivals now, it probably won't really stand out that much.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Woodstock '99. My cousins, their mom let them buy the pay-per-view for Woodstock '99, and so they just recorded on video cassette everything that we liked, like and so Limp Bizkit, I remember that very distinctly, their performance. And they were like encouraging people to burn stuff, and like all this, like some of like the black marks on in Woodstock '99, and there was like, like all these angry bands, because there were so many angry bands out by then.
Right.
So it was just like not a peace love festival. Like all the popular bands in certain genres of rock were like just angry and screaming, and that's what was big. But I remember I just like watching Woodstock '99 recorded on tapes, like over and over and over again. And then there was obviously like certain parts where the camera would catch a girl flashing, and we had those memorized, and like,
Of course.
yeah. So it was just something like now, like I don't even know, like you can like watch Coachella on Twitter or whatever. Like it's crazy, like the difference now. And there's so many like huge festivals that are just like Woodstock. Because even Woodstock, I think they're having a Woodstock like maybe this year.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
That would make
like,
sense though. I mean, it's 50 years later.
Yeah, 50 years later. Yeah, they're doing it. It's in August. And like the lineup just looks like your standard 3-day music festival lineup. Like, Coachella, or the former Sasquatch, or Bonnaroo down in Tennessee. There's just like a lot of festivals like this now. I think the Lollapalooza is just a 1-day thing or a 1-weekend thing now, and it's a 3-day festival. But yeah, it's just like it's a lot of famous bands, but it's just like, yeah, these are the standard festival circuit bands. You got good bands in there, but and I think they tried to get some, more, kind of older bands, because they got John Fogerty, Robert Plant,
Ooh.
David Crosby.
Ooh.
Yeah, like there's some, they got some nostalgia ones in there too, but they also have Miley Cyrus. Oh, they have
Killers.
Santana, but he's been like pretty relevant, at least maybe since Woodstock '99.
Holy shit, man. I'm looking at this lineup. Good.
Yeah,
Lord.
but dude, just look at the Coachella lineup or look at the Bonnaroo lineup. It's like exactly the same.
It might be, but I'm still like, this is like right up my alley, dude. Like the Killers, the Lumineers, the Raconteurs,
I would love to see the Killers. Yeah.
Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. I'm seeing them at Marymore in August. Actually, right before this.
I saw Edward Sharpe I got really into Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros when we lived in Nashville, and they played at a festival at Vandy, and they were just like so stoned. They had like a 45-minute set, and they played like their album had like 6 good songs on it, and I swear they knew it, and they only played those 6 songs in like 45 minutes. And they were not 9-minute, like long songs. They were just stretching them out,
right,
being really stoned. It was like one of the worst shows I've ever seen. Yeah, there's a pretty good lineup. But yeah, you think now, like, I think there was probably a lot more bands at even Woodstock '99 than this. But I don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot more bands that aren't listed on the thing. A lot of littler bands and stuff.
Yeah, it's possible. There's a lot of little bands listed here, though.
Oh, apparently the Black Keys were going to perform, but they're no longer available due to a scheduling conflict. That is just listed right underneath the schedule.
Whoops.
But it'll be interesting. It probably won't be like the mess that 99 was, because like there's people that are like pros at doing these festivals now.
I don't know, man. It seems like there must be something going on with this, because on the front page of the Woodstock thing, it says, to the more than 100,000 of you who have responded to our situation with support and solidarity, a heartfelt thank you. And they're still not selling tickets. And it's 2 months away.
What?
Yeah. Tickets on sale soon.
Man, we might get a fire festival.
I know. I was just thinking this might be another
Can't
fire
wait for
festival.
that Netflix doc and the competing
Woodstock
food doc.
50 Netflix
Yeah.
doc. Oh my gosh. It's
Like,
brutal.
none of these artists are actually signed up.
Nope.
Jay-Z's like, what?
But you can pre-order the 50th anniversary edition of the concert program.
You get a
Pre-order that.
concert. Hey, that'd be even better if it never happened.
It's the official music book for $59.98.
What?
Yeah. It's by some guy named Michael Lang. Haven't you ever heard of him?
Oh, of course.
You also can get the definitive 50th anniversary archive, which includes the book plus 38 CDs, plus a Blu-ray disc for $799.98.
That's the one right there. I'm buying it right now. I'm on here.
That's a bargain.
Yeah.
You also can get a Woodstock 50th anniversary indigo twill cap for $26.95, or you can get a Peace and Love metal lunchbox for $16.50. That's kind of up my alley.
Nothing says.
Oh wait,
Peace
pint
and love,
glass. Pint glass, $15.
$15. Nothing says peace and love like rampant commercialism.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. I mean, Craig, how dare you? Are you suggesting that their motives are anything other than altruistic? That they want to do anything other than simply, celebrate the music and the cultural moment that was Woodstock?
I am suggesting that. But I do like those shirts. Those are pretty
You're
cool.
so cynical. You're so cynical.
Don't eat the brown acid shirt that they're selling for $25. 25.
Right. And it just says, by the way, it literally just says on the front of it, don't eat the brown acid.
Like it looks like it was made like by hand for like 50 cents, but it's $25.
Yeah, but it's $25. Don't eat the brown acid. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is riveting podcasting, and we have 0 listeners left at this point.
It's okay.
But if you do happen again to still be around,
listening,
please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your preferred thing. Do it right now. Like you're listening, you got the phone in your hand. Just click 5 and then say like, stop fucking talking about Woodstock. 5 stars. Something like that.
That's right.
And then follow us on Twitter at Pod versus is it Pod versus everyone? I don't even ever know. Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at the Craig Powers. Jeff is mostly the Pod Twitter account.
Yeah.
That's why you see it has some hot takes sometimes.
That's right.
And then go ahead and if you have any comments, questions, disagreements, those I want the most. Complaints, I want
Come
those.
argue with us.
Give me them complaints. Go ahead and shoot those at the Twitter at Pod versus Everyone, or we can publicly shame you if you do it at Twitter, so please do that. But if you don't want to be publicly humiliated, please send an email to podcastversuseveryone@gmail.com. We've gotten over 2 listener emails so far. Apparently, saying an email address on a podcast is not a very good way of delivering results. So, but yeah, just find a way, find us somewhere in one of the ways I listed. Send us a comment, give us a good rating, and hey, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.